Spectrum Next. I'm just going to give it a minute for people to log on before I start talking about things. I know a few people were waiting to see this video. Hopefully a few of you will tune in to see exactly what's going on. But I was just as surprised as everybody else was when I put this announcement out as to what was coming. Obviously we're here today. When we're going to be taking a look at the very latest build coming from Rusty Pixels of the much renowned, highly anticipated Spectrum Next game, Baggers in Space. Now, as some people may or may not know, I know Jim Bagley well, and you know, we had the first public demonstration of Baggers in Space at Revival 2018 this year, which, being the organiser, is very difficult to stop by and be able to get a chance to play these things and enjoy what everybody else does. Now, I've been following progress of it closely. Obviously, I'm following the progress of the next, and I'm psyched. I'm totally psyched for this game, as well as everything else coming out for the next, as you can probably tell from my videos. But yeah, speaking to the guys recently, Michael's been chatting to me a lot, telling me about the progress the game's made, about what's been going on with it, about where the inspiration comes from, and you know, where they want to go with it. And the game is now, well, probably about 50% done. I'm not entirely sure on that fact, but I've got a bit of information from the guys. At the end of the day, I'm a casual gamer, right? I kind of know my stuff, but I don't know the full stories behind everything. And I'm just as curious to you as to see how this game's going and where it's got to. Now, speaking to Mike and Jim, obviously the only people who've got to see this game in any kind of real fashion so far are people who attend the UK events, and there's only been very few appearances it's actually made. And what it is, there's a lot of people who support the Spectrum Next project, who are working on the Spectrum Next project abroad, and people in this country who just can't make the events, and they just haven't got to see this game in the flesh yet. Now, I've covered well people like Software Amusements' current 2 first releases for the next, and this is a very important one. And obviously it comes from somebody you know, I class as a friend, and obviously they still like to keep things very close to their chest. You know, they don't send me stuff like this all the time. And talking with the guys, you know, they were saying the other day, you know, we notice people are following your videos, we notice people are taking note of what you say, so why don't we send you a build of the game as it stands, and you can let our international followers, you know, see what this game's all about. And anybody who's not got to play it in person, at least you'll get a kind of feel for the gameplay in a real context. You know, this is a real Spectrum Next here, fully cased up, set up with a joystick, and I can go over exactly the finer points of the game, how it feels to play, and what my thoughts are so far. So, flipping round, I've got everything set up here that I need. There is my 48K cased Spectrum Next. Got my trusty Quickshot 2 Turbo Kempston joystick plugged in. You'll be glad to know I fixed the issues I had with this TV. Apparently, there's people who watch my last videos will have noticed me having issues with it fading away and dimming in some kind of power save fashion. Apparently, it's an inherent problem with the Sony Bravia line of TVs, and it only tends to affect when you've got a display in 4:3 aspect. I tried a million settings and couldn't correct it. Apparently, there's firmware fixes for some screens, but there wasn't for this, and the only way to correct it is I had to switch the display to be in it's a 14:9 aspect zoomed fashion, so it doesn't dim out. So that's the format I've got it in. Well, it doesn't look too stretched, thankfully, and I can just about get it in shot with my trusty ghetto phone holder, a power brick from a set of Christmas lights, as it happens. These make great little phone holders if you ever need something makeshift. I have got a little phone holder somewhere, I can't put my hands on it, and my new tripod hasn't arrived yet, so this is how we'll be filming it. You'll also notice on the table I've got a Mega Drive joypad. Obviously, people may or may not be aware that the Spectrum Next now supports a wider range of control inputs, including mouse, although there's no games that really utilise that yet. But through the existing ports, you can set it upon startup in the firmware. One of the options, you can set Kempston, Sinclair, cursor joysticks, but it now also supports Mega Drive 3-button or 6-button pads. I don't know if it will or not, but I would imagine that any of the similar 9-pin joypads or joysticks will now work, because the Mega Drive standard worked on a lot of the old consoles, so whatever they've put in to allow this to work, I would imagine will now work. If you set it to Mega Drive in the options, will now work on this. So I'll try and play the game with that in a short while, but for now I've just got it set up with the joystick. Speaking to Mike, who created the game with Jim, he has told me it can be a little tricky to play with the joystick, because there's some fine adjustments of control to be done, which he says is difficult to do on a joystick. I'll be honest, I've given it a quick play. I had to give it a quick play before we did, and it plays perfectly well with the joystick. Well, I seem to be doing okay with it anyway. So I've got my Next OS set up here. I'm going to set down the phone into the holder here, and I'll talk a little as I go along. So just give me a second to put this into position. I will check in on your comments as and when you make them, if you make them, but it depends if I'm currently playing or not. So let me just set this up in the best way I can. Try and get as much of the screen in and wedge it in place so it shouldn't move. I think that's got the majority of the screen in shot, so hopefully that should be okay for you. I think I've got the volume and everything balanced on the TV, so let's check this out. Right, before we start, I just sort of let you know, the guys have spoken to me and said that obviously this is a beta build. It's very playable, looks complete. I think there's only about 8 stages on this version, but they're more complete than anybody has seen them so far. But bear in mind that it is a beta, and it's very far from completion. They said to expect maybe a random crash, maybe some bugs. It's still being play tested. The bugs are still being worked out, and Mike just let me know just this morning there was another slight bug in there that may rear its head, it may not. I've been playing a little bit this morning and I haven't seen it so far, so fingers crossed it'll stay that way. I think that's a testament to decent programming there. Part of the reason for the bugs anyway is because the guys who are developing games for this system, they're developing it for the latest developers build of the OS, the firmware and the core. The public release at the moment is a little bit behind that, and so obviously bugs may appear because it's been written. The idea of the games are being written now for what is gearing up to be the latest firmware, the one that will be on the released Spectrum Nexts, and obviously we aren't going to get that just yet. So any bugs or any faults that may occur are not as a result of bad coding. It's purely because it's designed for the latest build of the firmware, which we just haven't got access to as of yet. And as friendly as I am with the guys, I haven't got access to developer tools. So I am on the latest firmware, I am on the latest core, which you can see down the bottom there, we've got 199G. That's the latest public release, and everything should work sweet from here. So going into the game, you guys will have to tell me if the volume isn't loud enough, but obviously I want to talk and discuss the game as we go along. This video is probably going to be quite long. You can always watch it back, but I hope that you stay on live and ask any questions that you want to ask. You can see I've got my categories set up there. And obviously I've now got Nextfile Warhawk, which is the bug fixed version, with the changes made that I suggested from my last video. And at the bottom there, we've got the mighty Baggers in Space. Just before I boot it, because obviously the music will kick in straight away. This game is that's alright, Adrian. I think you'll enjoy it, mate. The The guys, the game itself is the best way to describe it is Jetpack 3. That's the best way to describe it. If Jetpack had continued its series, obviously one of the most basic and yet one of the best and fondly remembered Spectrum games of all time, it would have evolved into this. And what it does, it takes elements from the original Jetpack game and it kind of mixes that with a game called Hero. Not everybody remembers Hero, but if you did ever catch Hero back in the day, it was a multi-platform release. I played it in detail on the Spectrum. You basically played a little a spy who I think you were a spy and you were supposed to rescue hostages or something. You had to go down into a cavern and you got given dynamite to blow up walls and everything. No problem, Dave. I hope you're checking in anyway with your friends. And so this game is a kind of hybrid of both. But the level layouts and everything again are also borrowing from things like Cybernoid or Soul of a Robot or things like that. So you'll see elements of all of these, and I'll discuss those as we go along. But yeah, as a game, the concept is brilliant, and I'm going to say it now. I don't want to build up anyone's expectations too much, but this is probably the most complete game that I've played so far for the Next, and by that I mean it has elements, you know, the graphics are on par, the sound is on par, the level structure is progressive, it's got intelligent design in the way there are enemy traps and the way the enemy responses to your actions are. It's very clever, and it's beyond, you know, as much as it on the face value it looks like and it feels like a Spectrum game, it's got depth. Do you know what I mean? And that's something you wouldn't have often got back in the day. So let's boot it up anyway. I know you're all dying to see it, so here we go. The Rusty Pixels logo, of course. Hopefully this should all be on screen. Yeah, just missing the tiny corner, that's not a problem. Beautiful title screen with good old Jim himself there. And I've even got my own custom version, check that out. The guys are good enough to put nice instruction cards on the start. See there, it's got tips. What's quite clever about this game is, unlike other games you would have got back in the day, there's no cheap enemy respawns. It's got enough memory to retain the information of enemies once you leave the screen. So one of the tips Mike gave me on gameplay was attack the enemies and kill them. They won't respawn. Clearing screens is the best way to progress in the game, and it will remember if you've dropped dynamite or if you've, you know, half killed an enemy on one screen. When you come, if you go off the screen and come back, it'll still be there and it'll still have taken the amount of damage that you've given it. So play testing, there's a couple of names there. Hopefully my name will get in this now for having play tested it myself. And you can see from the scoreboard, I've already given it a good play because I'm second on the high score table. But I'll confess, that wasn't from a single playthrough. That was through playing a couple of the later stages. I could probably get a higher score, but it's a very tricky challenge, I'll be honest. I think there's about 8 levels on this, and I'm up to about level 7 so far. And it does get progressively more difficult. The difficulty curve is nigh on perfect. So anyway, we can see our little baggers there. Very familiar of the little jetpack guy fixing his spaceship. And occasionally you may have seen there's little Easter eggs in this which are nice. I think it's the craft from Warhawk was flying across and blowing the things off the screen, which was quite cool. So that's the way it's presented anyway. And there's the 2 guys responsible for it. Obviously one more man to mention is Lobo on the graphics and the music from Space Fractal. There was the Warhawk craft. So you can see I've already been playing it through and I'm up to level 7. It wasn't easy at all, and I'm sure the difficulty curve will be tweaked even more. From what I understand, this game is going to be anything up to 40 stages long, I think, so you know, it's going to be a hell of a challenge to get there, and plenty of replay value. Again, another perfect game to set high scores with and challenge your friends. So we're going to kick off at stage 1 anyway, and hopefully the screen shouldn't dim out anymore. Hopefully you can all hear the music okay. I'll try not to talk over all of it. We've got a kind of spooky, I don't know, lost in space kind of thing going on. It's cool. And off we go. Before each stage you get this nifty little intro. There was the Warhawk craft mounted on there, and we're on the first planet. So straight away we'll talk about what we're dealing with here. So there's your little Jim at the bottom, Jetpack. He's the jetpack guy for this game. He's got a funky little spacesuit with stripes on. The level of detail just on the sprite is fantastic. And if you hold the fire button, that fires your laser. And you can see with regards to the screen layout, very much like Jetpack, you've got the 3 parts of your ship which you've got to put together first, and you are restricted to this single screen. You can't actually scroll off one side and come on the other on this, and that is because it's more than... Oh, please don't do that. Oof, auto response on the screen there, sorry about that. Hopefully it won't do that again. It shouldn't do that again. I think I've got the HDMI plugged in well. But anyway, at the top of the screen there, you've got your score, you've got your air meter, and you've got your life meter. So rather than just dying from a single hit, you have actually got an energy bar, and your air meter is very much like your time. So you can actually collect health, you can collect more air, which allows you to keep going longer. And you need TNT on this game to be able to progress, just as you did in the game Hero, and you'll see where that comes into play in a minute. Just like Jetpack, we've got the enemies flying on from the sides. You collect crystals to give you bonus points. So I'm rapidly depleting my air, so I think I better go ahead and start playing. The most dangerous place on this to go is the sides of the screen, which you have to be able to get certain things. So we've got the middle part of the ship, we drop that on. Very tricky to hover, but again, once you get the hang of it, it's great. So the ship is built. So now what happens? No fuel. Oh, there we go, there's your TNT. And there's even a clue there for the first stage. If you press down, we drop a stick of dynamite, nicely animated, and off we go to the true section of the game. You can see the level design here, much like something like Cybernoid, as I mentioned before. We're hovering our little Jim as we go along, and the control is beautiful. You know, it's nice and fluid. It feels exactly like Jetpack was, which is cool. We'll hop off to the left first of all. See, we've got rockets spawning from the walls, we've got to avoid. They will respawn, so you have to be careful of those. That's more of a trap than an enemy. And there's our first fuel tank there. Grab that, fly back up. Oh, took a hit there. I've got to be fast because I'm running out of air, so forgive me about this one. We'll drop that on our ship. Back down we go. Cut the diamonds. You might see off to the left there a little head. Now that head, I'm probably going to die here because I'm about to run out of air, right? We'll start it again anyway. I think it's really cool, Adrian. I'm liking it. I mean, you'll see just how much more into detail it goes. I'll hit continue. We're only on stage 1 anyway, but I'll play it for proper this time. Now I've kind of described the layout and where we're going with it, so to let you appreciate the music and everything. Apologise, the joystick's very clicky, like I say, but probably won't be going too much for high scores, but I'm going to play it as though you should. So let's drop our dynamite. I'll grab that sneaky diamond there while I'm at it, and off we go. grab some points on the way down, eh? Auto fire obviously handy here, but you can hold down fire anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Ooh. You gotta be crafty with your hovering to be able to get through this game. It becomes more essential the further on you go. I mean, just look how nicely drawn those backdrops are there. You've got the nice animated star field, not too bright to kind of distract from what's going on in the foreground. Grab that diamond one on there. Let's see if we can get a bit further this time. So like I said, I'll demonstrate in a minute how the enemy spawning retains even when you're off screen. But I'm going to collect the ancient head. Careful to avoid the spikes. And you can see that gave me points in the top corner. Those heads actually do different things on different stages, and it depends what you do to get them as to what it can do. You can actually get power-ups. Sometimes they can have negative effects, so you've got to be careful and decide if you want to take the risk. So you can see I destroyed half the enemies there, and it just leaves the one on screen. Similarly, if I half shoot it and come back, it retains that energy, so that was quick to kill. Now, a lot of Spectrum games couldn't have done that back in the day, because when you went off screen it would have reset the parameters, I guess. Right, so back to base with this. Gotta try and be quick because my air's going fast. That's the second one. You can see the fuel filling up in the rocket there. Oh, different kind of enemies there. They just launch at you, you gotta be careful. Shall I risk going for that last diamond? I probably should, shouldn't I, to complete everything on this stage and finish off the enemies. I've got the energy to do it, so... Right, so now we've got to dash back to the ship and fast. And it's always better to be flying than walking. You fly a lot faster than you walk. So, I'll drop that on the ship. We'll just have time to nab that diamond. And off we go. Stage 1 done. So you can already see the elements of all the games that I've mentioned just in stage 1. Oh, and here's where the little Easter eggs come in. For some reason we've got the Sphinx's head destroying your rocket in this case. And this is where it gets cool. We've got like an Egyptian themed level in space, which is kind of cool. Kind of like Lost Space civilizations, I suppose. And obviously the enemy behaviour changes for this stage as well. So where you have to focus on the screen changes depending on the stage. I'll grab those gems. Grab my TNT. Bang. I'll save that diamond for my return trip. So we've got snakes on this one. Whoa, rockets coming out the wall. And I think we'll head left first. So we've got some funky spawning enemies in the middle of the screen there. The traps and the way everything is set is very clever. Some enemies will only spawn when you get past certain points. Some will only make themselves appear once you get past certain points. Oh, so we're up against a wall there. Drop the dynamite. And there we go. The dynamite retained its level of explosion till that point. Oh, please kick back in. Hope it doesn't keep doing this. Sorry, it's the TV. I really must get a better TV back here. Try and dodge those. Oh! Oh! Got away with that lightly. Oh, so I've done full circle, have I? Okay, let's try going this way. There is a health thing there, but I don't need that as of yet. Not taking too much damage. Oh, shouldn't have done that. But I have better time with things like that. Oh, there's my first fuel can. Let's try and time this well. Got a feeling I'll need that health canister shortly. Yeah, I definitely will. I've already taken a load of damage. In fact, I'll go and grab that now. If the screen thing becomes too much of a problem, I'll check the settings shortly. I'll take a break between some of the levels. You can see we've got wall spikes there to contend with, which obviously can affect your hovering prowess. Oh, here we go again. Let's make sure I'm shooting so I don't die. It could be because I've got auto on as well. I need to turn that off. Ah, there's my next fuel canister. Oh, I kind of decided to start with. I should have took a right turn after I got that diamond. Oh well. There's a second canister. Try and do this without getting caught. Yes. I'm not sure if I'm going the right way here, so... Oh, I've taken some damage. Oh, off we go. Not following the advice here. I should be clearing those before I move on. After this level I might need to stop and just check my TV settings, make sure it doesn't keep doing that because that's rather annoying. There isn't one problem with this TV, it's another. Honestly, terrible TV. Right. I want to go down this time, I think, from here. Let's see. That way it started. I want to go down here, I think. That is really annoying. I'm going to have to check that after this stage. And the thing is, I know how to pause it, so I will do this stage and then I'll check the settings and then I'll come back to it. Ah, there we go. And you can see going for the diamond there made that enemy spawn, so you've got to be careful what you go for, what risks you take, because it could end up costing you. So, as could this stupid screen thing that's going on. Well, that's the last fuel. I'm not going to look for the head, I'll just do that. And then what I'll do before I carry on, I'm just going to check my TV settings. Try and stop that from happening. You just saw the Spectrum there destroy the ship. Right, we'll start at that stage in just a second. Bear with me, Mama. Very annoying. I like the cross media bar thing, but honestly, this TV's been giving me nothing but nightmares. I'll try and think about what settings will actually stop that from happening now. Right, those are all correct. We'll go to screen. Zoom. Default. Vertical shift is fine, so because even if 14 to 9 it would fade out, so there's one more setting I just want to quickly check and then we'll get right back to it, okay? I think it might have something to do with this. No, not that. This. I think keeping this on. Maybe not. Anyway, we'll persevere with it and see what happens. If not, I'll have to switch back to 4:3 aspect, and we'll just have to deal with the occasional dimming out. It's a little bit annoying now, which is why I've done it this way. I know, yeah, it's quite cool, isn't it, Dave? There's little nods throughout the game to everything. You've already seen a couple of the Easter eggs from where you saw the Spectrum necks there smashing up the ship. You saw the Sphinx's head, and you saw the Warhawk craft flying past. There's little nods to quite a few things as you play through, and it just gives that kind of nostalgia tick, you know what I mean? But honestly, I mean, I've been playing it so far, and the gameplay is it's so smooth. It's so smooth. It just feels such a complete game. You know, the animations, the little particle effects, you know, those little things are what kind of set it apart from the old 8-bits and even the old, you know, the typical Spectrum games, you know, those kind of effects you couldn't do. And yet somehow it still feels Spectrum. And that's something that is so hard to communicate. I'm trying to do it, you know, verbally as I play, but you'll feel it the first time you play it. You'll feel it. The level of detail, you've got title screens, you've got cues, but no complex menus, choosing your controls and things like that. It just tells you what the controls are. Press fire to start. It's presented like a basic console game or like an arcade game, and that's the way a modern game should be. Even if though it's for a retro inspired system, that's the way a retro inspired game, you know, so that's the way a modern game should be. You know, it wouldn't be uncommon to see something like this appear on a modern system on an indie download store, for example. So we'll start back at stage 3, because we did the first 2. Pick up where we left off. Hopefully it won't do what it was doing. I apologise if it does, and if it does, I'll go back to the 4:3 aspect, and I'll just have to deal with it fading. At least it doesn't go off while it's fading. So this one, I'm not quite sure what this stage is inspired by, but you can see with this one, unlike Jetpack ever was, we've got to deal with enemies from the top of the screen rather than the sides, so I've got to be very careful here. Nab it and run. Not float too high. Even this first bit, you can waste a lot of air if you aren't quick and efficient. There's my TNT. There are some stages where the TNT you're given isn't enough and you have to come back for it. You can see the gem detail change on each stage as well, making it appropriate for the level. So my air's depleting, so let's get going. So we got a kind of weird techie volcano stage. Best way to describe it is Marble Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog. You got lava, but kind of modern techie things going on. Those things there are air blasters which force you down. If you don't get momentum ahead of time, they will take you out on your return trip. And this is where the traps and the enemies start to get a bit smarter. They will fire at you, they will jump at you, and you will trigger rocket traps from the walls when you least expect it. Like that one there copped me, unfortunately, I wasn't fast enough. See, I'll grab that gem and now the rockets fire faster. You can see there's an air canister. I'll keep that in mind for later. I don't need it just yet, but I'll get that later. So there's my first air canister. I'll kill that first as I get in the way. See up there's a key. As you get further on, the traps and the routes become more convoluted, and those keys become important, else you can't get to where you need to go. So let's hurry this one back. This is where killing the enemies becomes invaluable, because otherwise, if those enemies are still there, that would have slowed me down on my return trip. And this is where I said I should have gathered momentum, because otherwise those blowers keep you down. There we go. So little Jim working his arse off here to get his rocket back. I mean, it's cutesy and it's fun and it's a nice obvious nod to the, you know, the faces behind it, but it's just so cool. It's easy to forget. Now this looks ominous. Not much going on, but I guarantee. There we go. We hit the fuel tank, and out come the rockets. So got to time it to avoid them. There we go. And again, got to build speed, else those will hold you down. Now my air's depleting. I think the air depletes differently depending on the stage. So, because obviously you're going to different planets, maybe the pressure or something changes the pressure on Jim's suit. But yeah, the air consumption changes with each stage. And some stages you will need to get your air, and on some stages it will go fast. So, gotta be fast, gotta think fast, gotta work fast. And I think that's where the air will come in handy this time. So I'm going to grab that air now because it gives you different amounts depending on the thing, but those things there are dangerous. I only know it from my previous playthrough, so grab my air. It gives me about 50% more air. I'm going to leave that gem for now. I'll grab that one now. And I'll grab the health as well while I'm at it, just in case. Oh, that was silly. Bomb that. There's the last fuel, but I haven't finished exploring. Was that the last fuel or might want to go? Not sure. Find out when we get back to the surface. Careful there not to smash into the roof and kill myself. I'm trying to kind of give you my experience and my pattern of thought as I go along, but what I don't want to do is give you too many clues, because I can already tell there's a lot of people very interested in this game and are going to want to play it through and experience it for themselves. So I'm not going to give you all the tricks and secrets. I'll let you find out for yourself. Yeah, I'm not going to show you about that hidden door, so we'll leave this stage for now. Yeah, exactly, Robin. Yeah, the inertia is bang on what you would have felt in Jetpack. Not many people are that familiar with Soul of a Robot, which has got that feel like, oh, we got hit by a TARDIS this time. Arboriana. Okay, so what's this, like a swamp planet? And if you notice, the music has changed at every stage. We're not stuck with the same old music. And they are long tunes. They cycle, but they are a couple of minutes long each, so you're not being stuck with the same track droning in your ear. If I remember rightly, this is where things start to get difficult. So, yeah, I've got to be careful here. I might not get through this stage on the first attempt. Yeah, this is where it got tricky, so get rid of him straight away. Grab me gems. Dynamite and run. Oh, that was close. Dynamite can kill the enemies, which is handy. So there are rocket things there, but they haven't come out yet. What happens when I collect my fuel? Whoa, you're not going back that way. So it's forcing you to take an alternative route. This is what I say, the level design gets quite smart and the enemy design gets quite smart. So you've really got to use your head in planning your routes round. Whoa, and not get caught like I just did there. All by these horrible wasp things, because the pattern on these are just annoying and they're very fast. Down we go. And we go this way this time, trying to get by the volcano blasts. Back out the way a second. Oh, I knew I was going to get caught by that, not like I do. Energy depleting already, so spikes there. Oh, and shooting them, unfortunately, reveals more enemies, so I'm not going to attempt to go for that gem down there, that's just suicide. I might just go for that one. Right, now we can't go to the left just yet. That is a key lock door, so can't do that just yet. But on this level, you're forced to take that route to be able to complete the level. So we'll be coming back this way shortly. Whew. I always forget about that room when I come back up that route. I think I've gone up the one room and I'm back outside, and I always forget about that one and get hit by a rocket. Oh, I needed it again then, coming back down. What's wrong with me? Should know by now. I've played this level a couple of times. Like I say, this was the first challenging level that I really found, so I should be more aware by now. Right, so obviously we can't go left yet. We'll go down. I think I'm going to need that air, but oh! Big monkey, ape, crazy thing dude there shooting the shit out of me. I won't shoot the things from underneath it. And yeah, I think I'll grab it now just in case I trigger something coming back. Doesn't give you that much air on this stage either. So we've got the jumping monkeys, wherever they are, moles, the strange things. Kind of cool jungle level this. Not only is there inertia, but if you fly fast into a wall, you actually bounce off it, which is quite cool. So, you know, the physics have been worked on very carefully. You can tell where the attention to detail's gone. So there's another one of those ancient heads there, and no way am I risking going down there. My energy's already down to a third. So we won't be risking that. Can't kill that boulder, so you've got to, this is where your hovering skills come into play. And it's a dead end, but you can see the key there that we need. Only trick is sometimes you'll grab that key and not realise that you're just on your last bit of fuel. And if you've got the key, you can't actually drop it, I don't think. And you can't pick up any more fuel, so you have to find the door before you can go any further. Just survive that. Energy's getting low though, so I'll have to be careful as I progress this last bit. 3 rocket drops, that isn't good. Right, to make a break for it. Here we go. There we go. Doors open. Ah, would pick a time to do that, wouldn't it? This damn screen. Oh, thankfully I lived. I really want that gem. Oh well, I got it. Look how much health I haven't got though. I've got to be very careful on this last part of the trip. I've got enough air at least, so... Oh no, that's not good. These things spawn everywhere and just continue to spawn. Oh, I'm getting out of there quick. Right. Oh, that was stupid again. Got a tiny bit of health. I've got to get back to the ship with this. Can't afford to take a hit here. I'll time this well. Not over yet though, right past these damn things that just won't stop spawning. And hopefully the screen doesn't pack in on me again. Oh, mustn't forget the rockets. Oh no! I've killed Jim! The hero looks a bit mono. What are you trying to say about Jimbo? I'm sure Jim won't take offence to that. If it's an accurate representation of our Jim, it says a lot about Jim. So, I'm rapidly knocking him off my own scoreboard though, so I'm happy about that one. But you've even got a nicely presented kind of high score screen, and just like on Warhawk, you can use the joystick or you can use the keyboard to do it. You've got a nice animated character select, which is quite cool. But you can just type it on the keyboard, and that's what I've done here. I won't finish off that level. I might as well show you a couple more levels. I was nearly at the end anyway. I had to float that screen, so we'll let that die off. I can pick the next level anyway because I've already got past it. So, but I don't know what you guys are thinking so far. I mean, A lot of people who've already seen it have said how much they're anticipating it. And it's those little fine points, like I say, that are really making this as a game to me. The level of colour depth in there is way beyond what you'd have seen on a Spectrum back in the day. In fact, on most 8-bit systems, the colour mix is kind of surreal and extreme, but it totally works. The character's not lost amongst the backgrounds. I'm sure the guys will be really appreciative of hearing you say that, Adrian. Obviously, they've been supportive of what you've been doing with your games. And, I mean, people who have seen me now reviewing several Next games and talking about the Next in detail, obviously I've covered your games, which I've got in front of me here, and I'll be covering Montana Mike, hopefully, when it comes out. And it's like, even though the take on them is very different, and even though maybe, okay, you've got more flip screen affairs, obviously the games you've done so far have been basic flip screen things with not much going on the way of animations in the background and things like that. The games that everybody who's watching, sorry, Adrian's on. Adrian created the games for Software Amusements. Adrian works alone, and Adrian has done a stellar job of creating the games that he's done so far at the pace that he's done so far. Obviously, this and Warhawk now have been in production for a long time. There's 3 or 4 guys working on them at any one time, and these are just indicative of the kind of games we want to see, and yet these are just the early games that we're seeing, you know. The way they look is brilliant, but every game I've tried so far, they feel like a Spectrum game. And everybody was so concerned that, you know... In fact, I'll switch back to me just for a second and we'll go back to it in a minute. Yeah, everybody was so concerned that, you know, the advancements that were made with the Next, the way they kept changing the spec and adding features and things like that. Everyone was so concerned that the Next was going to be just an ST. It was the comment that people heard. While the quality is up there and while the graphics and sound and everything are so much more better, seeing them in person, seeing them on the original hardware, just seeing them on video, you can tell they're not. You know, it's like you could probably pick an Amiga game up at random and say, that's an Amiga game. You can recognise a NES game just by the palette, you know. You can recognise a Mega Drive game by the way the sound effects are synth rather than MIDI, you know what I mean? And, you know, these games have got a character of their own, and I think that's a testament not only to the work that's been put in on the Spectrum Next and the TB Blue board and the OS and everything like that, but it's a testament to the kind of people who want to take this platform forward. They're setting an example. A lot of people want to learn coding with the Next. I certainly do. And I think going forward, it's setting a precedent that, yeah, it's going to be hard to work to, but it's also, these games are being created in the right, you know, the right frame of mind. They're being created in the right context, you know. The games are just advancements of Spectrum games, and that's a very hard thing to create, you know, unless you were there, unless you know about these games. It's organic, and this is why I'm so pleased with the way the Next has evolved. I know there's been some controversies over the way the code started and things like that, but as a project, the way it's come together, the design of the system, the physical casing, the hardware, the way it all goes together, not many of you out there have had a chance to use and own, you know, a Next as of yet, whether it be a cased, you know, a 48 retro case thing like this, or whether you're waiting for your normal one. Not many people have had a chance to see it in person and use it in person. This to me is, the Next is the ultimate Spectrum. The people who are working on it and behind it, I think are going to force, they're going to create its own legacy because of games like this. Because of games like this, you know, these are the games that are going to carry the system forward and make it live on, I think. And I think all the next owners are gonna really enjoy the system. They're gonna buy the games, they're gonna design the games, they're gonna push the hardware boundaries, you know. And I think there should be a kind of freeze point on the features that are being added. But I also think that, you know, as far as the game design goes, people should push the limits as they're set to their limits, you know, see how far we can go. I personally would like to see some original IPs, but pretty much bang on arcade ports, which is why I discussed things like the control set, you know, giving a new control standard to allow us to use more buttons. But these are the games that have got a set, you know, they're setting the bar early on, and they're setting the bar high, you know. It's a Spectrum game with a lot more depth, The exploration factor, there's a lot more that I'm not showing you. I don't want you to have every aspect of this game. I want you to see it for yourselves. I want you to go out and buy this game because you're really going to enjoy it. We're on up to level 4, and each level gets progressively better and progressively more detailed. So anyway, excuse me for getting a bit fluffy there, but let's move on anyway. Obviously, for all intents and purposes, I completed that level. I have done it before, else I wouldn't be able to jump on. And we're now on Helos. So here's Careless Jim again. Jim, you're not going to make... Oh, and there's Horace knocking you out. So, Jim, you're not going to make the best astronaut, mate. I'm sorry. Okay, you might make a good astronaut, but not a good astronaut, not a pilot. Definitely not. The ship's looking a little bit crusty on this stage. What have you done to it? I've got to say that spacesuit's rather fetching on you. It's so surreal. I'm playing the game. I mean, I designed the game in which I played myself. It's not egotistical to do. It's just fun, and I suppose if you can watch yourself die in a million different ways, I'm sure philosophers and psychologists out there would have a lot to say about that. But yeah, I mean, I know this guy, and I'm now responsible for if he lives or dies. Don't worry, Jim. I'll keep you safe. Okay, so we've got a very ice-inspired level this time. And these are actually indestructible enemies. They do appear and reappear, which is a bit of a shame. And this is where your hovering tactics and delay tactics actually are the things that will ultimately decide your fate on this stage. Oh, there's my first fuel canister, but we'll destroy that. Get that out of the way. I'm sure we'll have to go that way shortly. Grab my first fuel canister. The cool thing is the objectives are still the same. You've still got your 3 pieces of your ship. You've still got to collect your 3 fuel canisters exactly the same. It's just all the other bonus bits that go with it, like the hidden doors, the secret keys, and the ancient heads, which obviously you'll see the different things they can unlock as it goes on. I'm not going to reveal too much for you. I've played through, and I've played a few of these levels back through a few times, but I'm not going to give you all the clues, else you'll know exactly where to go when the time comes, and well, that's not fair. I had to discover it for myself, and it kind of spoils the surprise. Right, we'll go this way. Right, collect the gem. Okay, so that's all there was there. Oh, so you can actually force these ones to disappear temporarily. Let's go down first of all. Oh, air. I've just realised how badly I need air, so I am actually going to go that way first. Just steal that air canister. Whoa, that's not good. Needed that. Wouldn't have lasted much longer without my air canister. I think I've actually been talking a bit too much, to be honest. There's a gem down there. And ignore the gem. I don't think I've got the... We'll get that one. Being greedy now. Yeah, so you can actually shoot those ones out of the way. Oh no, I've taken the wrong route. That's not good. I think this area isn't going to last very long. Oh, and my stupid TV is doing its usual trick, so I have to rush this. Need to quickly get that way. That's a dead end, so I've got to go up and down. There we go. Another air canister there, that'll come in handy shortly. That was close. Quickly get this back. Now I'll have to dash round very quickly to get that air canister. I'll have to risk a bit of health here, otherwise I'm going to run out of air. That way. So quickly try and dash and get that air canister now. Oh, not good. I'll take the hit. I need the air. Go ahead and give the people the air! Shit. I forgot you had to shoot that out of the way. See, it's starting to get tricky dicky. Awesome, Rog. I'm glad you jumped on for this. If you go back and watch the video back, I'll explain in detail about a lot more of the aesthetics. But yeah, you can see exactly what I was talking about. The physical boxed price. No, that information I haven't been given by Jim or by Mike yet. So I'm guessing at the end of the day, I think you've kind of set a precedent, Adrian, with what you've done. I don't really think there should be like budget and otherwise for the next. You know, at the end of the day, it's modern. It's people are doing this as self-publishing basically, so they don't need to be too expensive anyway. But at the end of the day, I think it should be worth people's while to do it. You know, you've been putting your games out for, you know, £10 a pop, is it? I think the physical releases. People want the physical releases. Digital's going to be cool, you know, but people want the physical copies, you know. And I'm guessing, you know, I mean, I'm not going to speak for the guys, but I am guessing that, you know, they'll probably put this out for about the same price, about £10. And I think £10 is what people are going to be willing to pay regular, you know, to play these games. You know, for the next, I think people are willing to pay £10. And I think it was £5 for the digital release, digital only release. People are willing to pay that all day. Oh, £12.99. There you go. So yeah, £15. It's not too much. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it should be anything more than that, because I don't think it's not that the games aren't good or not. You know, they're not worth it or something like that. But I think once you go past a certain point, I just think, you know, people will start saying, well, hang on, it seems a bit much for a kind of retro game, especially when retro games are a little bit shorter, you know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, and people can charge what they want, but yeah, I think there was a bit of a poll recently, and people were discussing what they were willing to pay for things and what they think next game should be worth. And the general consensus was that £10-15 is acceptable. £5 for you know a digital release is perfectly acceptable, and no one will be against that. And you know, I think that's the way I think as well. The type of games they are, you know, they've got depth. Obviously, a lot of effort's gone into them. I want them to be profitable for all involved. But it's like the old adage of something's only worth as much as someone is willing to pay for it. And when it comes to the next and the type of games they are, I think £10-15 is about the limit most people will pay. So yeah. At the end of the day, Adrian, I've said it a lot about your games. I think that you've kind of set a precedent with what you do in the way they should be presented, the way they should be boxed. I mean, the speed you're putting them out at is probably way more than I think is actually needed, and way more. But it can only be helpful to the system, and I think everyone's grateful. You've been able to put out, you know, several quality games in such a short space of time. I don't think everyone will be able to follow that, but in terms of the actual precedent you set for the system and in terms of the precedent you set for the quality of the games, I think you've got it bang on, mate. And you know, the calibre of the games is only going to get better. I mean, this game is superb. I absolutely love it. I mean, I'm really enjoying playing it. I need that air, don't I? Yeah, forget the energy, I need the air. Yeah, this game is superb. It's got so much depth, so much challenge, and I think people are really going to get a kick out of this. Don't do that, I'm running out of air. Stupid TV. Before I do any more reviews or anything, I'm going to have to get me a new TV to work with, because this one's just being ridiculous now. But yeah, I mean, any budding developers out there, anybody who's looking at making games, these are the standards you've got to work to. You know, I've said it a million times. I've sung the praises of the games that are there. They're going to get better. The quality's going to get better. The people doing them are going to be working harder to make even better games. And I think if you're designing one, these are what you should be aspiring to do. So this they're getting killed this time. I'm going to run out of there, to be honest, but a long way to go back. And the other air canister's a mile off, so I'll probably run out of energy before I get there anyway, so... Oh no, back up that way, innit? Yes! Quick! There we go. Yes! The first time I played that stage, I absolutely nailed it, so I'm surprised it took me that long this time. Is that the Tin Man's head? That's weird. Bango, okay. Oh, cool. Very futuristic. Ship's looking a little rusty in places, looking a bit battered now. See, I'm loving the way the music evolves with each stage as well. It creates a new atmosphere for every level. Music's awesome, by the way. Oh, don't want to get trapped there though. So the enemies on this stage actually seek you out, so you've got to be fast. You're going to lose a lot of energy early on. This is a very difficult stage, so you'll forgive me if I kind of concentrate a little bit. Tend to get around it. That was close. You blew myself up with dynamite then, trying to rush it. Whew. That was stupid. Right, enemy bullet patterns are getting a bit more tricky now as well. And I still got hit. I am useless. This stage took me a few attempts earlier as well. Oh no, rockets coming from everywhere. Destroy the blocks. People will be able to play it much better than I am doing right now, I'm sure. But like I say, I'm trying to give you this as a casual game. If I thought about it, I could probably remember my patterns from earlier and everything, but I just want to give it you as a kind of first time play experience, I suppose. There's my first fuel canister, so I can't be going far wrong. So what does everyone think then? I know there's not that many people watching the stream right now, but if you're watching this on a replay, I want to know your thoughts. The guys want to know your thoughts. Mike and Jim, they've worked really hard at this game, and they really want to know what you think. There's ways they have listened, you know. I gave my feedback on the Warhawk progress, and they reacted on that and made a few improvements, you know. Is this a game you can get excited for? Is it a game you're going to buy? I think the intention for this is to get the game out around the same time as the physical full case next is released. And if that's the case, then, you know, great, because people, you know, I'm sure everyone's waiting on it. And it'll be and again, it'll be along with the trilogy from Software Amusements. I think it's going to be that kind of game. You know, you're going to want to get build yourself an early library. You know, get the physical copies while they're there as well, because from what I understand, people aren't planning to do lots of runs of the physical copies. So, oh, made a mistake there. Took the wrong path. Let's try and kill these things. They take a lot of hits to kill. From what I'm seeing so far, the game doesn't need much refinement, I'll be honest. I think it plays well, it feels great, it sounds great, it looks great. Oh, and there you go, I've collected the ancient head, and I've gained some kind of speed walking power up. That'll help when I'm trying to traverse narrow pathways. Could do with some health though, I am rapidly dying, so let's see what I can pick up. Trying to get hit by that thing. This is where speed walking comes in handy. I'm taking a lot of hits here. Straight into the spike's not good. Could do with some health here. Oh, there's health up there. Oh, I can't get to it, so I've got to take the long way around. I didn't think that would hit me, that's not good. I think I've only got like one hit left, I've got to be damn careful here. And that wasn't it. It's close. Yeah. Need a small miracle here, I need to get to that health quick. Oh, there's another one, but I don't know if I'm going to last that long, to be honest. I've got to pass these damn bubbles to get to it. And I didn't get it. Oh well. So anyway, again, because I don't want to show you too much, I'm not going to show you completion of that stage. Oh, unless I am, of course. I'll jump to the next stage. Well, I'll restart the game. Like I say, I want to show you a lot of the ins and outs, but I don't want to show you. I don't want to give away too much of the surprise. Let's throw it back up. I think that was stage 5, so if we go to stage 6 now. Oh no, it was 6 I was on. So after that stage, like I say, that's where it starts to get really difficult. Now this is as far as I've got, and this stage, this is infuriating. If you've ever played a Zelda game and got lost in the woods, well, it's called Alcatraz, so I'm guessing that's a play on Alcatraz. And there's a bit of a Sherlock Holmes nod there. So is that a nod to the fact that you've got to work a lot of stuff out? This level is infuriating. Looks nice and innocent from here. But once you get through that hole, it becomes a whole different kettle of fish. It is a maze inside. And not the kind of maze you want to be messing around in. Stupid TV. I'm already losing air just messing around up here on land. So, first of all, looks nice and simple, yeah? Okay. Let's try and look down the hole. So we've got an enemy. Nothing else down there. No point killing that. Next screen's identical. With an enemy. Next screen is identical. Oh, maybe we should kill the enemy. What do you think? Nothing. And there is one of the bugs. I was hoping it wouldn't actually come out, but yeah, there is one of the crash resets that I was warned about. Given that this demo only runs to stage 8, as far as I'm aware, I fully expected that to happen around this stage. The guys said that, you know, they're still working the bugs out. They're still trying new things out. And, yeah, there was one of the crash resets. So, while it's actually off, I'll just show you. The guy said that it's now got support, I think, for joypads. So let's just test that out. We're going to try and play the game now with the Mega Drive joypad. Just plug that in and I will reassign that port on startup. Hopefully this is a working Mega Drive joypad. I've got a few Mega Drive joypads and hopefully this is a working one. And I should be able to show you playing the game with the joypad, and I'll be able to tell you how it feels to me. So, not tried it with the joypad myself just yet. Find the right one, MD1, that's what we want. And load up. So let's see how this feels. I think we're fully plugged in there. It's quite a stiff port. How you doing, Mike? You alright? There's some positive feedback so far. A lot of people watched it. Hopefully a lot more people will catch the replay as well. So let's go down. Next games. And Baggers in Space again. And there's, oh, we've got a weird break there in the screen. Oh, that's weird. Oh, now it's gone. Something to do with the firmware on my next, maybe? Oh no, it's still there. That's strange. Anyway, won't affect gameplay, so we'll leave that as it is. Yeah, you did say there was going, so everybody, Mike's on now. Mike obviously is one of the developers. Yeah, there is an issue with screen transitions or something. And apparently the bug can happen when you move screens. Again, it's not caused by coding, it's just purely down to I'm on the last public release core, whereas the guys are working with the latest developers release core. So, full power off to clear the pixel drop. I've never noticed it before, Mike. It's the first time I've never seen it. I'll leave it on just for this bit anyway. People have already seen pretty much all the levels that I've got to so far, so... Oh, there we go. I'm trying to find the right button to use. I think it was B. I haven't started me on level 7 anyway. Oh, I should have gone back. This level's hard. Oh, so B's to fire on this, okay. Let's try playing it. Now, I'll admit, I am generally better playing games in general with a joypad. However, I'm sure a lot of people would love it like this, and this is my TV, by the way. This has been happening the whole video, I'm sorry about that. I'm not... Oh, this game feels a bit alien playing it with a joypad. This is the first time I've played any Next games with a joypad, I'll be honest. You said it may be a bit easy to play with a joypad, Mike. I'm not so certain of that. Mike, that is the first crash we've had, I'll be honest. But that pixel drop is annoying me, and my joypad's not plugged in properly, so I'll just power that down. We'll pop this back in. We'll fire it back up and see if that pixel drop corrects itself. Yeah, I've got a few issues with this TV. You saw it on some of the other demos, unfortunately. Ah, down to the HDMI signal, is it? I've never noticed it not once before. That's the first time it's happened. Although I've had to adjust the way my screen is displaying at the moment, because apparently I've discovered there's a problem with Sony Bravia TVs, which is what I just happen to be using. in that it keeps, when you use a 4:3 signal, it keeps dimming the screen out. So on the Warhawk video that I was doing, everyone saw it kept fading out and flickering. It looked like it was flickering. Here, it was fading out to near black. And it's an active contrasting, and you can't turn it off, unfortunately. The only way to combat it is when you've got a full screen picture, and I didn't want to have a stretch screen, so what I've done is I've set it to zoom, so we're actually losing a bit of the top and bottom, but obviously that's the border area on Spectrum, and it's stopping that happening. But now, because it's not locking the picture in the centre, it keeps like losing the signal every so often, and it keeps going off. I'll just double check my HDMI connection on the back while I'm at it to make sure I've not knocked that either. That seems okay. So what a lot of people don't realise, obviously, the next OS, the firmware and everything is still being worked on. And as far as the developers go, they're still working around these little things themselves and still discovering these little quirks of displays and other things. So, and obviously the end users like myself, we're finding them once you start giving things real play tests. So let's try that again. And move the joystick out of the way because we're not using that at the moment. Oh, got her in the way of the screen. Move it over a bit. We'll fire up Baggers in Space again. But yeah, Mike, I mean, I've told you I'd give it a whirl, but I haven't told you what I think so far. Go back and look at my video. I'm absolutely loving it. It's the first time, it's the first real time I've been able to play this game, and I think it's amazing. The depth of gameplay, you know, the complexity of the stage design, the feel. As somebody pointed out, you've got the inertia of Jetpack just perfect. The physics are bang on. You know, the challenge, the difficulty level is just right. Although this 7th level, oh god, it's infuriating. It is infuriating. So I'm going to go back to stage 1, I think, and just try the game with the joypad. So I'm using a Mega Drive joypad. A lot of people are fans of the Mega Drive joypad. I always preferred the SNES pads myself. I think that was the standard going forward. But yeah, the Mega Drive joypad, good pad. And let's try and play the first couple of levels using the joypad, see how that feels. I did pretty well on my first few play attempts. I think I got to about level, might have been end of level 2, I think it was, and I only died then because I was taking it too slow because I was trying to explain the aesthetics of the game while I was going. Now, because my left hand doesn't work as well as it used to, I do experience some problems using a joypad these days. My left hand response on a D-pad isn't as quick as it used to be. I honestly don't think you need that hint arrow there on that first stage. I found that quite intuitive. When I first saw the TNT, I thought, oh, here we go. Got to be something to blow up. And the ground is obviously different, so I figured that out. Tapped down by accident there. That is my bad thumb causing that. Yeah, I'll be honest, my motor control with my left hand isn't as good as it is with my right. So I actually would play this better, and I have been playing this better with the joystick. However, I can see for fans of joypad control, I'm not doing too bad there, maintaining a stable hover. I think they get on very well with playing this with the joypad. For me, I think I'll continue playing this on the joystick, but let's see, we'll just play through a couple of levels with joypad and see how I get on. Either way, it's still an awesome game. Certainly doesn't detract from it, and whatever your control of choice, I think people are going to love this, going to love playing this. Unless they play on a keyboard, in which case I think you're insane. I've never liked playing on a keyboard, especially rubber keys. Ugh, no, not for me. I'm a modern man and I much prefer my my physical hand controls to a keyboard any day. At Revival we found many people did not notice the floor and carried on flying around. Oh really? Okay, in that case then I must be the exception to that one. it could be that my opinions on Warhawk weren't valid either, but I am glad you listened at least. It shows that you are listening to all inputs. I guess obviously you got to see me, play, on my video live and then listen to my comments afterwards, so you understood that. And I just like at Revival, people made comments that a hint would have been nice. I think what it is, depending on the person who's playing. Obviously at Revival we get a lot of pure retro gamers, and they grew up with Jetpack, and I think from what they've seen of this so far, I'm just doing this stupid thing again. What they've seen of it so far, they automatically think it's Jetpack, which it's derived from, but it's not Jetpack. So they just expected just simple Jetpack controls and nothing, no more depth. I anticipated and I knew there was a lot more to it than that. And obviously the thing at the start tells you that you've got dynamite to use. So exactly. Adrian's on at the moment, Mike, and he's been taking good notes of what you've been doing so far. He says he very much likes the game. As I was saying, I think this game, just like the Software Amusements games, it's setting a precedent. The feel is very Spectrum. The feel is very classic. And it's exactly the kind of games, when I first heard about the Spectrum Next, it's exactly the kind of games I hoped to see and I expected to see. But I knew it could only be done in the hands of the right people, the people who were there with the original systems or experienced those original systems. And I think you guys have done a stellar job with this, I really do. I wish my telly was as good as your programming. I am going to get a new telly to keep doing reviews, but I'm sorry, it's the only thing I've got available at the moment. I'm going to continue streaming, so I'm going to get myself a more permanent station set up, I think, to continue doing streams, because this is infuriating. If I go one way, I suffer from fading in and out. If I've gone the other way now, I'm suffering with it losing the bloody signal every 2 minutes, so... Well, we'll just get through this stage, I'll be happy. Probably getting ready to end the stream shortly anyway, because I've been on for about an hour and my battery probably won't last much longer, so... Yeah, I've done alright filming these on my phone. I mean, the camera on the iPhone X is superb anyway, which is why I've been quite happy, filming on my iPhone just this way. HD picture and everything, the colour balance is good enough, so it picks up the audio pretty well. So last fuel tank to get, and do their doing this time. Oops. Yeah, I'm definitely not as adept on a joypad as I am on a joystick. That was something I was trying to show people earlier. The inertia, you've got added inertia. Even when you hit a wall from the side, if I launch into this wall and let go of the joypad, you'll see that I bounce back. See the slight bounce back when you hit the wall. Again, another little nice touch you wouldn't have seen in the original game. Cheers, man. Level 7's ridiculous, a ridiculous maze. And again, because I've struggled with it so much, I'm reluctant to play through it and show anybody any further. I think there's only 8 stages, you said, anyway. I don't want to go any further than that anyway, because if I show people how to get around that level, it kills the infuriation they're going to feel as well. I had a nightmare finding all the fuel tanks on that level. I did find them all in the end, but yeah, it was infuriating trying to find them all. So yeah, quite enjoying playing with the joypad. I'm glad you've added the joypad support anyway. And yeah, I'm actually kind of, it's feeling more natural for me to be holding a joypad now, I'll admit. But yeah, my motor control with my left hand isn't great, so I'm going to much prefer to play this with a joystick. It just feels right. This is the kind of game that feels right on a joystick. No game will ever feel right on a keyboard. It's just nasty. I know there's some big advocates of keyboard play out there, but I've never got on with it, never. So I really love the level design, by the way. I'm loving the backdrops and everything. Yes, I did notice that, yeah, on stage 7. In fact, I will drop this out quickly and I'll switch back to my joystick so I can at least get to where I need to go easily. Pop the Kempston back in. I'm going to jump back to level 7. I'll show people, because I want to show people the subtleties of the graphics and the level design in general. Drop back to Kempston control. Wish it wouldn't roll like that. Yeah, what Mike's saying, everyone, is that, yeah, there are clues on the stage as to where you're supposed to go on the levels, but it's hard. It's still hard to kind of get to grips with to start with. See, my damn telly's saying it's out of range now, which of course it isn't. I haven't adjusted any of the other settings. Let's try that again. This TV is a nightmare for the Next. I've got to be honest though, my main TV didn't get on well with the Next. I'm hoping all the implementation of the signals are a bit more refined when the final Next comes out. It's one of my only criticisms of it so far. It needs to be more plug and play, user friendly. There should be no need for configuration or anything like that of things like a display. I mean, that's just ridiculous. It should be set up to work with anything and work very well with it. You know, HDMI has been around for years now. Even basic consoles manage to get on with most HDMI TVs. They really need to sort that out before the final 1.0 firmware release. Right, so I'm going to jump in. I've got my joystick back now. I feel more comfortable with that. Put my TV to play a ball. Oh, thanks very much for putting that in, by the way. We'll jump straight to level 7. So what I was showing people, and hopefully it won't crash this time. That was the first crash I've experienced. I think being on the latest public firmware at least helps. Right, let's do this. TNT. Thank you. Right. Now I haven't found the clues on this one as of yet. I don't know if you have to kill the enemy to be able to progress, or whether you just got to go over so many screens. I can't see any noticeable difference. But now I have to go over about... there we go. I can see the arrows now. I just saw the Q. Nice one. Yeah, I see it now. I wondered whether it had a kind of Lost Woods kind of thing going on. I think you have on the one section, but yeah, that's frustrating. Right, let's go down. Oh, you don't blow up the wall there, do you? Shoot the ice blocks. See, there's new mechanics, everybody, in every stage. There's new mechanics to deal with. And it does add for a bit more depth to the game, you know. Getting this key is a bit tricky, I know. My hovering's usually a bit better than that with a joystick. Yeah, totally loving this game. Where to use this key yet. Oh, I hate working against those fans. Stupid TV. So it can't be this way, it must be that way. probably going to die before I get there, but I am when the TV keeps doing that. Just noticed the little wanted poster in the background there for the gym. Right. I need to bomb that, don't I? My route back. There we go. Forgot the heel jump. Not sure where the door is for this key on this stage. But yeah, people can obviously see there's a lot more complexity to this level than the other ones so far. It's much more maze-like. I know where my last 2 fuel tanks are, at least. Where this secret door is, I'm not sure. Exactly, yeah, and I think that's what people are going to like. Now I know with this one there's a queue. You have to go down to get it down here. See, my TV keeps doing this, it's rather annoying. I know you can go right, but I haven't found a secret door to use this one yet. I got stuck on this stage earlier because I couldn't find my way around. I don't think I'll be able to do it even with the inspiration of people watching either. So there's only limited ways to go. And every time we go back up, it just takes you straight back to that section, so... Probably something I'm missing. That is just getting on my nerves now. I'm gonna have to have another look at this TV. It's a real pain. Yeah, I really don't know where the door is for this key. There might not even be one, the way you guys have designed these levels. There probably isn't. I just have to fly a million screens to the right, I don't know. So that's where the fuel was. There's nothing else down there though. No, that just repeats, doesn't it? I'll have to revisit that level later. Right now though, my battery is running low on fuel. Oh, it's near where I got the key. Oh, see, I've got to go all the way back and check it now. But anyway, guys, that was the latest look at Baggers in Space. It's shaping up to be an awesome game. Just want to say thanks to Mike for getting this copy over to me, this latest release. It really is a cool game. I mean, Adrian's games are a very different kind of single screen affair so far, but I understand that will be changing with Montana Mike. But obviously the guy works on his own. This is a team of guys, you know, experienced guys. They know what they're doing. And so far, I mean, I've only played through 7 stages of, what was it, an estimated, was it 20 or 40 stages, was it? I think you were going up to. It's going to be an epic game to play. And I love the elements you've taken from it. You've got Jetpack in there, you've got Hero in there, you've got a bit of Cybernoid in there. I'm loving the level design, I'm loving the game. I will definitely buy this when it comes out. I'm sure a load of people out there will too. And I'm hoping that people will, you know, get behind these guys and buy Baggers in Space when it comes out. Honestly, there's going to be a lot to explore in there. There's a lot I intentionally haven't shown you. I'm going to be going back and building up some tips for myself on this. But yeah, Baggers in Space, definitely an A1 Spectrum neck game. And when it's released in a couple of months' time, I hope it follows the standard that's been set so far. I'm going to want the physical copy of this. I'm sure a lot of people are. And hopefully I'll see you all in my next stream. And I'm glad to have been helpful in the play testing of this anyway. See you later, guys.